snaking their way along Oxford Street, many thousands of protesters. A march that spanned almost the entire length of the capital's main shopping street. This was a noisy affair. Real anger here at what they see as the great COVID conspiracy. Most certainly won't share those views, but the people here believe they speak for a huge chunk of the population, railing against continued COVID restrictions.
India's reported a record number of coronavirus cases for the 5th day running, and they're struggling now.
In Brazil, so far, more than 370,000 people have died, but President Bolsonaro refuses to order a lockdown despite continuing infections.
When I asked you to go into lockdown exactly a year ago, it seemed incredible that in the 21st century, this was the only way to fight a new respiratory disease. For month after month, our collective fight against coronavirus was like fighting in the dark against a callous and invisible enemy. With every day that goes by, this program of vaccination is creating a shield around the entire population, which means that we're now travelling on a one-way road to freedom. Whenever we ease the lockdown, whether it's today or in 6 or 9 months, we've got to be realistic and accept that there will be more infections, more hospitalizations, and therefore, sadly, more deaths, just as there are every year with flu. And thanks to the vaccinations, that there is light ahead, leading us to a spring and a summer which I think will be seasons of hope and from which we will not go back.
So from the 8th of March, all children in England will go back to school and further education colleges will open. Residents in care homes will be allowed one regular visitor. There can be outdoor meetings in a park, for example, between 2 individuals. From the 29th of March, up to 6 people or 2 households will be able to meet outdoors, including in private gardens, and some outdoor sport will be allowed. From April the 12th, that's at the earliest, shops, gyms and hairdressers will be allowed to open, plus outdoor hospitality venues such as pub gardens and theme parks. And then, no earlier than the 17th of May, cafes, pubs and restaurants will be able to open fully, and restrictions on outdoor meetings for groups of up to 30 people will then be lifted. And on the 21st of June, at the earliest again, all remaining restrictions will come to an end.
In general settings, we're keeping the rules on masks as they are for this step outside of schools. Mask wearing is one of those things that the cost of it to your personal sort of, going about your normal life is really, really small. We know that they are of benefit. That's one of the things we've learned. One of the things that scientists have developed the science on and learned during the pandemic. And so those rules will be staying the same, except for within school settings.
Well, airlines, aviation and the whole travel sector on their knees have been crippled by the coronavirus crisis. Passengers were hoping that the government report was going to tell them when they could go on holiday abroad this summer. That was the whole point of it. But the report that came out the other day was, the government called it a roadmap, but I've never seen a roadmap with all the destinations blanked out. We won't know until next month which countries the government say are on this so-called green list, that it's okay to travel to, or on a red list or an amber list. People are going to have to take expensive tests. There may be queuing at airports to go on holiday. So the other day, the government Secretary of State said for the first time, people can start thinking about their summer holidays. Well, people actually want to know when they can go and where they can go. Those are the answers we need.
India is wrestling with a ferocious wave of COVID-19, and the latest coronavirus figures show infections there have now passed 20 million. India's added around 8 million new cases since the end of March.
The gurgle giving life, and they came from miles away to get it. For many, it's a race that they're losing. The race to find oxygen before coronavirus overwhelms them. Quickly, he's shouting. They know every minute counts. The narrow street outside the Sikh temple in East Delhi is crowded with vehicles, full of sick and dying people.
More than 70% of adults in the UK have been vaccinated with a first dose of a COVID-19 jab. A total of 57.8 million vaccines have been administered across the UK between the 8th of December and the 18th of May, with 36.9 million people having had their first dose and 20.8 million having received both doses. That's 39.6% of all UK adults having 2 doses of the vaccine.
I want to thank everybody in this country who is coming forward to get vaccinated. That's the way I look at it. And, you know, this country is quite extraordinary. There was a poll, I think, done last night, which showed that of all the countries in the world, we are the most positive about vaccinations. At the moment, I think partly because we've built up such a wall of defences with the vaccination programme, I don't see anything conclusive at the moment to say that we need to deviate from the roadmap. Thanking everyone again for your patience and for the sacrifices that you've been making. Businesses, pubs, restaurants that have been waiting to welcome customers back through their doors, grandparents who have gone for months without seeing their grandchildren, weddings postponed, funerals sadly constrained, and religious festivals such as Eid yet again facing restrictions. And I want to thank you particularly because your efforts have so visibly paid off, giving us the time to vaccinate more than 2/3 of all adults across the UK, with more than 1/3, nearly 18 million people, also receiving their second dose, and thereby unquestionably saving many lives. And so it's precisely because of your efforts that I can confirm today that we've met our 4 tests for further easing the lockdown in England. And Chris will run through the details in a minute. But with deaths and hospitalisations at their lowest level since last July, the UK's 4 chief medical officers today agreeing a reduction in the alert level, the data now support moving to step 3 in England from next Monday, the 17th of May. This means the rule of 6 or 2 households that has applied outdoors will now apply indoors, and the limit for outdoor meetings will increase to 30. From next Monday, you'll be able to sit inside a pub and inside a restaurant. You'll be able to go to the cinema, and children will be able to use indoor play areas. We're reopening hostels, hotels, B&Bs. We'll reopen the doors to our theatres, concert halls, and business conference centres.
As we come out of lockdown, sadly the virus is still going to be with us, and not everybody has been vaccinated. So wherever you're heading, here are 3 things you can look out for. How much fresh air is there in the place you're going? How crowded is it? And how long are you going to spend there? If you're outside, all the research points to the risks being really low, because if anyone's infected, any virus they breathe out is going to be quickly dispersed in the fresh air. But a few studies suggest that it is possible to become infected if you're really close to someone, face to face, for a long period of time.
It's been such a strange, difficult year. So many ups and downs. We've been pushed to our limits, but things are about to get much easier. A massive lifting of COVID restrictions just 1 week away.
Hands, face, space. For most of us, obeying the official instructions to prevent the spread of COVID has become a ritual, if not quite second nature.
This is a huge moment for around 100,000 hospitality businesses that haven't had the luxury of opening outside and can finally unlock their doors after months of forced closure. But being able to open isn't the same as being viable, which is why the next step on the roadmap is the crucial one.
Now that we're allowed back into even so-called non-essential shops, antivirus measures, which may be costly and dramatic, are proudly on show. But more than a year into the crisis, we should know by now what works and pointless motions we're going through just to make us feel better.
For thousands of businesses and millions of workers, this is a moment of optimism. But continued restrictions and our reservations may mean the good cheer lasts only as long as the roadmap stays on course.
The Prime Minister has asked for responsible enjoyment. How people respond could matter immensely.
When it's open up, I'm letting loose. I don't want to hear about the Indian variant, to be honest, because I want it to open up and stay open.
I want normality, so I'm going to try to be as normal as possible, but as safe as possible at the same time.
And many have much rebuilding to do. Empty airports speak volumes about an industry embattled. Cleaning regimes may be second to none, but with most destinations off limits, there's only so much they can do.
There is a third wave underway, and people in this country should be under no illusions that previous experience has taught us that when a wave hits our friends, it I'm afraid, washes up on our shores as well. And I expect that we will feel those effects in due course. That's why we're getting on with our vaccination programme as fast as we can.